And action.
Okay, so we may or may not have After Effects fired up, but got our project. So there's a few ways to go about doing this. So I am a big fan of clicking and dragging them in. That makes the most sense to me. So if you go into your project file, go into AE or AI, and you can just take this and drag it right here onto your project. And then we're going to get a big scary dialog box
What do we do?
that has a bunch of options. So there's a few different ways that you can bring footage into After Effects if it has multiple layers. So I can do it, there's two kinds, import as footage or composition. And we're going to want to do composition, but I'll show you what footage does. So you can merge all the layers. So I can get just this straight up skeleton man. And I can't do anything with him, I just have him, but if you just need like a logo or like something in, that's a good way to do it. So let me get rid of that. What you can also do is choose a specific layer. So I just wanted his arm, you could do that. And you can do this. This isn't the worst way to go about doing it, but you have to import each layer individually, and I think that's kind of a pain in the butt. So what we're gonna get out of here, Chrome. What we're gonna do is go up to here and do composition, and then you want it to be document size. Doing it as layer size is not the worst thing, and I can show you what that means later, but this will keep all your parts where they're supposed to be.
And that way they'll be all in the document, that artwork that we made.
So this is going to give us two things. It's going to give us a folder with all our layers, or a bin, right? They're bins in After Effects. Nope, they're folders in After Effects. And then it's going to give us a composition with all of them. So you can start animating on this composition, or you can take these layers and put them somewhere that you want them to be. I will say when you do that, they don't always like to behave properly. So if I make this new composition here and I throw these all in, they're like stuff's not going to be in the right order, and you can go in and rearrange that, but that's kind of annoying and complicated. So we're just going to take this layer. Does everyone more or less have that going? So what I'm just going to do is go to my composition settings and change this to 1920 by 1080.
Locked.
You could do it in 4K if you want. Get out of here. But we're not going to do that right now because that's going to be pretty annoying on the processor. So this isn't right. Something's not right. He's a little cut off because he's a little big because I made him in a weird aspect. So the first thing we're going to do is go down here, right click, go to new, and create a null object. Now, what is a null object? That's what I said 2 years ago when I was in Shana's motion graphics class. It's Nick. What's a null object? You're in motion graphics and animation right now.
It's an object that does nothing. It by itself does nothing. But you can connect other things to it, and then by doing things to that null object, you then affect everything.
So like the null object is literally nothing. It's not anything, but we can use it to apply effects across a wide variety of layers and such. So what I'm going to do right now is select all of these, however you want to do that, and then go to this little swirly guy, or go to this. So you can drag these right here and it'll do it all, or you can go down to this drop down and just pick it. So I want everything to be parented to the null object. So that means every one of these layers is going to follow the commands that I'm applying to the null object. So what I'm just going to do real quick here is go down to my transform and then scale him down just a little bit so I can see what's going on here.
That seems complicated. Why can't we just scale all the layers?
Because, Brad, it'll Oh, that did work.
It depends on where their anchor points are.
Yeah. So when you do it like this, all the anchor points are gonna be in the same spot, but
Centered on the canvas.
we're about to move those. So don't worry about that. So now I don't need these to all be attached to my null anymore, but I'm gonna build this guy now. So we need to do some like real life thinking because when we're animating, we're taking pixels and we're making them look like real things. So
Can we sing the song?
what song?
Pretty much. Parenting
So,
song, the hierarchy
What
song.
if this was a real Skeletor man? Where would he be like the most heavy? Like where would his center of mass be? Would it be here? No. Nick, where do you think his
Not
center
big
of
enough.
If you're an actual skeleton, I don't know, like your head or your ribcage.
Anyone else got any ideas?
Where would the center mass be?
It doesn't need to be exact. Like we just need like a general location in the body where we think that he'd probably like kind of like be together and like pivot from. So yeah, so probably somewhere in here because like these are like kind of like extremities. Like my whole body's not gonna get dragged by my arm. It's gonna kind of be connected somewhere in my center of mass. So this is gonna be a little complicated. So just pay attention. You're gonna pick a layer. So I'm gonna pick a layer. I'm gonna do the upper torso because I think that like he has a lot of ribs. It's probably the most heavy part. So you're gonna click on that,
Yeah, Shayna.
and then what's up, Shayna?
Can you explain how you got everything named for drawing? Because that's important.
Oh well, all these layer names are getting imported from Illustrator. So if you're naming everything properly in Illustrator, it'll be fine. If you're not, you can go in and click on them and name them whatever you want them to be. So I'm gonna go to his upper torso, and we're gonna have to interact with these like little like handles and stuff. So if that's hard for you to see, you can select all of these and pick a more visible color. That's not really.
And particular to sandstone or fuchsia.
Let's see. Fuchsia seems like it'll probably be good. Yeah, that's pretty. It's pretty bright.
That's pretty bright.
So I'm gonna go to my upper torso, and I'm gonna click on this thing, but the hotkey is Y, which I think is a lot easier.
What's that thing?
So this is the pan behind tool. So this tool lets us edit anchor points without messing everything up. Because normally when we edit anchor points, like it moves everything relative to the anchor point, but this is gonna move the anchor point relative to where the object is. So we're gonna click on this, which is our anchor point.
What do you select it on?
Right now it's on upper torso.
Yeah. So make sure. Oh yeah, that's a good point. Make sure you're selected on the layers that you wanna change. So we're gonna take this. I'm just gonna move this anchor point probably like around where his like pecs are, something like that. And then we're gonna move from there, attaching things. So let's start with the left arm. So when you have all of these as the same document size, this bounding box is gonna be the same for each one because it's taking it from a document. So just be very cautious of the layers that you're selected. So I'm gonna click on left arm, and a good way to when I'm doing this, I like to figure out like what I'm doing because like sometimes I'm like, is it my left arm or is it his left arm? Like which left am I talking about? Is just like flick that, and you're like, oh, okay, this is the layer that I'm on. So we're gonna take this anchor point, and I'm gonna put it about where his shoulder is because that's kind of how that works. And then I'm gonna parent him to the upper torso. So now, when I move the upper torso, the arm moves with him, which is what we want. And then I'm gonna do the same thing for the right arm. I'm gonna move the anchor point and reparent it. And if you have two symmetrical like body parts, try and be really cautious of where you're putting the anchor point so that they're kind of like the same on each side. A good idea is to like pick something to kind of be like your like reference point. So I'm kind of like putting it in the nook of this rib cage so that I know I can just kind of put it there. So these are parented. I'm gonna take the lower torso, and honestly this is more or less fine, but I'm just gonna parent it a little bit, or put the anchor point a little bit up higher because it's ideally supposed to be like attached to this bottom part of his spine, so when it moves, it's gonna move on that pivot. So we're gonna take the lower torso and parent it to the upper torso, and then we're gonna do the legs. So the right leg, let's see, that's my right leg. So I'm gonna take this anchor point and kind of put it right on that ball socket.
What does an anchor point do?
An anchor point determines where the image is going to pivot or where the image is going to scale from. It determines where every effect is going to be applied. So we'll take this, and now we're gonna parent the legs to the lower torso. So the leg is attached to the lower torso, which is attached to the upper torso. So it all kind of works together. And then we're gonna do the same thing with the left leg. Put that right in his leg. Lower torso, do the mouth. So the mouth, we're gonna wanna, probably won't really matter, but we might as well just do it. We'll put it right smack in the middle of the mouth. Apply that to the face, so it's gonna be stuck to the face. And then the face, we're gonna take its anchor point and put it right, maybe a little bit above where the neck is. So we're kind of assuming that like if this is a 3D model, like there would be like a neck going back up there, like attaching to the head. Obviously there's not, because I didn't add that, but, and then that is going to attach to the upper torso. So to figure out if everything worked, we can go to our upper torso, hit R to bring up our rotation, and if everyone rotates with him, that's cool. That's good. That's what we want.
Now show why we can't scale all the layers independently.
Let's see, and hopefully it does work, because that would be silly. So that might be what you want, but it's not what I want.
Can you quickly, since you just made it bigger and then you can see pixels?
Oh yeah. So
What's going on there? I thought this was.
I just
vector
learned
media.
that this year. I don't know why this works, but Brad said it while I was teaching his class. If you click on these things, it will continuously vectorize.
It continuously rasterizes the vector
Yeah.
data.
Yeah. So it's constantly updating it so I can get real in here on his pelvic bone. But we're gonna put him back somewhere at 50%. So this is why the null object's really handy, because the null object is controlling everything. Some rigs that you use, what I've found that I do is I just pick the main part that everything's being applied to. I make that a different color so I know what it is, and I just pretend that that's the null. But if this guy is going to be moving around the scene, you can almost kind of use this as a camera. So if you take a look in your handy dandy file structure, I got you guys some spooky backgrounds. So you guys can go find your own if you want, but these are all 1920 by 1080, so you can just drag that guy right in there. Nope, you can't do that. Don't do that.
Why did it do that?
It made it a PNG sequence because it's
Because
silly.
they're all made the same and sequentially.
Yeah. So,
Interpreted as footage.
alright, so. It's also a great time to talk about file structure. So we got our spooky layers, we got our solids. When you make like a solid or something in After Effects, it throws in a bin. It also is a good time. Is anyone trying to follow along and just having a really hard time? Because I'm all over the place. No? Okay, cool. You can also tap on the shoulder of people around you, and they might not know, but they might. So let's make him dance. Yeah, so I'm just going to take one of these backgrounds, put it back here,
Oh.
and that looks spooky.
I'm so scared.
I'm gonna blur it just a hair, because in real life, when things are far away, they're kind of fuzzy. And we're all about that reality here.
Oh, depth of field. Now,
Yeah.
let's bring that.
It's almost like we have a camera. So, I was messing around with him yesterday, preparing for this, and I found a fun little direction that I like to take him in. So, what you're gonna want to mostly be animating is the rotation, of everything. So if you click on a layer and hit R, you can pull up the rotation, and that looks kind of weird because there's like bones coming out. But I'm just gonna set him up in a fun little position for us to make him do something.
And do a cartwheel.
It's a flexible skeleton.
Yeah. So as we can see, like he's a pretty good rig. I mean, like that's obviously not right,
Okay.
but it's kind of good. And like this is like another example of like why like I'd probably want this foot to be its own layer if I was going like really like try hard on this, because like I can make it like pivot on the floor depending on where he is. So I'm just gonna show you guys how to do some stuff real quick with him. So how do we want to do this? Move him up a little bit. So this seems to be a good position that we can start to work with him on. So you're definitely going to want to like have your layers be pretty big, and it's going to it always gets really like confusing when you do this stuff because you have so many layers and stuff. So it's really good to work on these and like here where we have like a lot of like big computer screens that you can like have a lot of space, because this is definitely one of like the ones in After Effects where like I just don't have enough room on the timeline for all this stuff. So we could, let's say this is left leg, yeah. So we'll go over to the left leg and we can add a rotation keyframe, go forward a second, and have it come on down.
What's a keyframe?
It's the key frame.
That's
It's
not helpful.
the frame where things change, which is why it's key, if that makes sense. So we can see here, we have a rotation. I'm working. We have a rotation of 100. Let's make that 140 because I don't like uneven numbers. And then here, we have a rotation of -32. So some stuff happened from here to here, and that made him look like a rocket. So that's actually not very quick because this composition's kind of long. So actually, we'll leave that.
That's better.
Yeah, and then after that, we could maybe have his lower torso. Oh, why is that? Oh, we're gonna. All right, whatever. Thanks, Jack. Oh no. So something else to know. Before when we talked about how like we want his center of mass to be like his anchor point, not always necessarily true. In this case, we probably want everything to be centered around his leg because he'd be doing this, so he'd be like pivoting around there. So if you're doing something funny like that, that's something to keep in mind, that your anchor point isn't always necessarily going to be at your center of mass. So I'll have him do something else. I was going to have him like move around, but I guess what we could do is have his legs switch positions like that. This is looking real funky, let me tell you.
There we go.
But yeah. So maybe we'll have this one not come out as much. And it's really just like a process of like seeing what happened, adding more keyframes, and changing stuff. So what actually might work here is moving his upper torso instead of his lower torso. So we'll try that. So yeah. So like I said, usually you're going to only be using rotation. Sometimes you might want to edit the position.
You might use scale for some squash and stretch.
Yeah. So here he kind of wasn't exactly where I wanted him to be. So, wow, look at that. So something useful that I want to say Shayna showed me it, but it's really good for like these kind of stuff, is let's say I want him to be constantly flailing his arm. so we can make some keyframes for his arm, and we can make a little loop. So if you see what's going on here, I'll get rid of all of these keyframes real quick just so we can go over this. His arm's going up and then down. So we have one keyframe for our start point, or our high point, then we have one for our low point, and then we have one that goes up to our high point again. If you want to look really good, do it like one off of your high point, because what's going to happen is, I'll show you all, this is kind of some advanced stuff, but it's really easy expression. If you hold Alt down on this timeline, or on the stopwatch, you can go in here and type loop out.
Type in code.
And now we're all got computer science degrees. Because now we're telling After Effects, keep on moving his arm until the very end of time. So that's a really useful thing if you have like a running cycle where like you animated all the keyframes for the running cycle and then you don't want to do that again, so you can just have it loop out. I'm pretty sure if you get more in depth in them, you can like you can tell them to stop after a while, but I don't know. I just know that. But yeah, I hope.
You wanna show copy and paste?
Oh yeah. So what if you don't want to do that? If you're like that, I'm not a STEM major. I don't want to do that. Stop with these words. What you can also do is just copy and paste your keyframes a bunch. So you have to be kind of cautious of like the timing in between them, which is not what I'm doing right now. I'm just kind of plopping them. But hey, that might make it look fun and organic. Wow. Look at that lifelike skeleton. So yeah, I mean like we could go through and like really like hardcore animate this, and maybe I'll do it in the background, but it's really just something that you guys can mess around with. And
Yeah, throw that
oh, motion blur. Yeah. Arms, when they move, don't just look like straight little things. So if we go here, turn all that on, and then kiss your processor goodbye, baby, because
Oh,
that's
that
about to
blur. Yeah, there we
really
go.
slow down.
Spooky blur.
Actually, it's keeping up pretty well. Oh no, that's because we're on half. Give me that full.
What if I want the shoulder to go in front of the head?
Too bad. What do you mean by that? Like, oh, I mean, you can like rearrange these layers. Because originally I had the arms in front of the torso so that he could like put them in front of it, but I wanted them to be connected to the shoulder, because otherwise he just kind of looked like he was doing this, which was like lame. So you kind of had to. So you're gonna have to make some sacrifices. Like I could ideally like have the shoulder as one, and then have the arms as another layer, and then put the arms in front of everything, but have the shoulder behind everything, because they could still be parented even if they're not like on the same depth. That seemed a little complicated for this intro tutorial. So you can mess around with these, and like if I did want the head to go really in front of the face, I can move it up. That's not the right one, that's the leg. But that kind of messes everything. Kind of messes everything up.
Oh wait, no, that one won't either.
Yeah.
You could do the old switcheroo if you had to like duplicate a layer, have one above, one below, and then alternate visibility. So
Yeah.
you pass in front and then behind.
So sometimes, like before, when I was mentioning, like, oh, I have this loop out, but it can't be. Here, I'll just hit undo a bunch until it works. But then maybe I want it to stop. There's a fun little thing that you can do. I don't remember what it's called, but the hotkey is Command-Shift-D, and you'll split your layer, or all your layers that you have highlighted. So then this looks seamless as if it's not changing anything, but then I can go in here and get rid of that keyframe. So
It's Command-Shift-D.
yeah, hold on, let me figure out what it's called. God, there's a lot of things in here. I think it's like split layers or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, split layers. somewhere in there. But yeah, then we can go in here, get this in on out of here, make that a proper number, and then his arm will stop. Amazing, but that really barfs up your timeline, so try and not use it a ton. Or what we can do is the magic of pre-composing. You can go in here, pre-compose that fella, and then it's a lot more neater. What we can also do is
What's a composition?
a composition is this thing that we're in right now. So if we pre-composed him,
So we can have compositions within compositions.
yeah, it's like Inception. We get another one over here. What we can also do is you can go to this little guy who you might have wondered what he is, and if you make him go back in this hole and then click on that, he'll go away.
Go in your hole. Go in your hole, shy guy.
So there's a lot. There's a lot of different ways to get this to work and make this manageable, and it's all up to preference. Like there's a lot of different ways to be doing this. This is just one way of working from Illustrator to After Effects. I think Brad, you teach like they design it in Illustrator and then they can like break up shapes or something.
You can take a full After Effects composition, break it up within After Effects. Yeah.
I didn't do that with this because he's got very specific parts. Like I don't want all of his ribs to be movable for this.
Sure.
Maybe if I was having them play him like a xylophone or something, I would. But for this, I kind of just wanted to do parts. So there's a lot of different ways, and there's a lot of ways of like organizing your timelines and everything. So yeah, that's how you animate in After Effects with Illustrator vector files. Does anyone have questions? What's up? Yeah. So now we have like 15 minutes if you guys want to try and mess around with these, see what everyone else can come up with. I added some backgrounds if you want to have something a little different. And there's a lot of stuff that you can do with these backgrounds to make them be more real. Like blurring is like the biggest thing. Like whenever you blur something, it adds depth to it. It makes you think your monkey brain thinks that that's farther away.
Lean on that blur.
Even though like it's right there. And yeah, I mean like you can particles are a great thing to add in between layers to kind of make things look cooler. So yeah, I'm gonna work on my guy. You guys want to work on your guys?